Just like in music, if you excel at certain techniques, arpeggio scales, but if you don't have the feeling inside it, and if you don't have what you want to express deeply, the music doesn't come alive. I think it's same in language, your pronunciation or like the structure, it doesn't matter, they're going to see in your eyes or in your body language and the certain specific words you use, they're going to get it in the end.
네, 오늘은 두 번째 저희 에피소드 게스트로 좀 특별한 분을 모셨는데요. 저의 또 친한 친구이자 또 이제 요즘 음악계에서 되게 주목을 받고 있는 우리 은영님을 모셨는데요. 처음 보시는 분들 있을 수 있으니까 또 자기소개 한번 좀 부탁드려도 될까요?
알겠습니다. 네, 안녕하십니까. 저는 이문혁이라고 합니다. 예, 지금 현재 저는 피아노를 치고 있고요. 원래는 제가 공대를 졸업했는데 어렸을 때부터 너무 음악을 하고 싶다는 마음이 커서 그냥 진로를 바꿔버려서 이렇게 지금 연주 활동을 하고 있는데 여기저기 협연도 잡히고 해외에서도 협연을 하고 참 감사한 나날들을 보내고 있는 중입니다.
네, 감사합니다. 저희 평소에도 이제 영어로 대화 자주 하니까 편하게 이야기하기 위해서 좀 영어로 좀 바꿔서 진행을 해보도록 하겠습니다. Alright, so let's get it started. Yeah, how's it going today?
Fine, very fine.
Cool. Oh yeah, thanks for coming.
No, I thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, bravo. So yeah, how are things going these days?
Oh, I feel very much grateful. Yeah, like in the introduction, I changed my career. But when I first stepped into my new career, there was nothing, just vague. But some people start to like me, and I got new opportunities. So I feel very much thankful nowadays.
Great. Must be it's great. So yeah, let me cut to the chase. So how do you speak so good English?
I went to Australia when I was like 11 years old, and I lived there for a year and a half. But when I first got there, I didn't even know alphabets. So for the first 6 months, it was very much hard for me. Like I cried all day because it was like aliens speaking. I could understand none. So I had to learn English to survive there. So, but what's really interesting for me was that my English didn't develop gradually. It just developed like going on a step that applies to any parts, studying or music, even language. But suddenly just something popped up, popped up in my head. And I suddenly started to understand how the very fundamental logic in the Korean and English are different. That's when I first started to speak English. Yes.
So it just happened suddenly?
Yes. But I think what I heard and what I tried to speak had been building up in my unconscious mind. Like when you were in school, those guys who are really good at studying, I think they would say the same thing. They develop suddenly. So if you're learning English right now and you're not feeling confident about it and you don't think you are growing or developing, no, it's okay because it's building up in your unconscious mind. Yeah, so it's go try. Yeah. And just like music, when you want to be good at playing some instrument, of course it's the most important thing is to practice, but the more important thing I think is to perhaps to listen more, because if you listen to a lot of music and you want to follow that, you want to play like them, it just happens. So for English as well, I didn't really study, or I didn't really want to try to speak. It was since I go outside, all I hear is English, all I see is people speaking English. So I think it had been constantly building up in myself. Yeah.
So what specific effort did you actually put in to improve your English? So what did you actually do?
I tried to speak a lot, but I started with very basic things where's the toilet, or can I play with you? Yeah. And yeah, there was it. So, but I think the first 6 months, I think, yes, my English got better in the first 6 months, but that 6 months is maybe when I think there was a time I needed to build my confidence. Yeah.
So then, what do you think was the biggest challenge you faced as an English learner in the beginning?
In the beginning, of course, it was the structural difference. Yeah. English, you say verb first, but Korean, you say noun first. And that was really hard for me because when for a young kid, because I was young at the time. So yeah, there was why do they speak different? That was the most hard part.
That's cool. Yeah. So how about now? Do you still keep learning English yourself?
Yes.
Oh, yeah?
I'm keep learning English, and since there are not many natives around me, but how I how I try to keep my level of English is to like think in English. But learning a new language is like learning a new culture or learning a new way of thought, because you know, like in Korean is very sentimental language. You know, you have lots of words to describe the color, you know, describe how you feel. But English is more of very logical language. So when I think about, you know, like everyday life or like what I think about someone else, you know, those parts, I think in Korean. But when I think about, you know, how I gonna get things done, you know, how I gonna do progress, you know, like in area where I need logics, think in English.
Oh.
Yes.
So you talk to yourself in English?
Yes.
Oh,
So sometimes I dream in English as well. So I think that's how I keep my level. Yeah.
So as you know, like this in this society, this is like everything is spoken in Korean. Right?
Yes,
so
yes.
there's an opportunity to, you know, be exposed to English, to have an opportunity to talk in English, right? So then, what are some practical or helpful tips for other people to
Like you watch YouTube, so maybe like if you search in English and try to watch YouTube videos in English. Yeah. Because like I said, you know, it will keep build up in your unconscious mind, and you just need time to pop up. So you just keep on storing, like like listening to English, getting more exposed to English, and maybe like think in English as well. That helps a lot. Yeah.
But that sounds like it's easier said than done to think in English, right?
Yes.
Right. But like I think you just caught the gist of it. I think of learning a new language to think in their language, right? Rather than thinking.
Oh yes, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, let me ask you this first. So how do you think the way you see the world in English is different from the way you see it in Korean?
It's very much different, because there are many words that is only specific to that certain language. Like in Korean, 눈치, 억울하다, they don't have it in English. So, but in Korean we have many sentimental words. Yeah. So like when I think in Korean or try to view the world in Korean, I feel much more affection. I feel much more like sympathy towards the world around me. But in English, it's much more direct. In Korean, when you say 내꺼, 나의, it's not that strong. But in English, like my is a really strong word. So I think I get much more confident when it comes to English, and I feel much more sympathy towards things when I view in Korean. Yeah.
That sounds really interesting.
Let's just
How about
skip this
some
part.
English words that are nearly impossible to be translated into Korean?
One English word that I really like is manifest. Manifest is a word that I think is really, really unique in English and cannot be really one-on-one translated to Korean, because it's a word that means what you are imagining, what you are thinking, or abstract things, you make it real in the world. So if just by knowing the word manifest and knowing the real meaning of the word manifest, I try to manifest in my world as well. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I like it. So then, like after becoming fluent in English, or after being able to think in English like you, have you ever got some opportunity that English has given you, like relationship or maybe?
Yes. Like many opportunities. Yeah. One thing that I can recently think of was that there was a piano masterclass camp. Like it goes on for a week. So I went there to translate and as a translator. But the professor I translated for was the professor in Yale University, measuring the piano. And after the camp, I got on plane to go to Canada to play. And it was such a coincidence to run into the professor in the airplane.
Ran into professor in the airplane?
Yes. I just
by accident.
Yeah, by accident. I just met him in the airplane. So we gave each other WhatsApp ID, and I went to New Haven, where Yale University is at, where the professor is. So I went there, and I spoke for about 2 or 3 hours with him and shared a lot of things, what I think about music, piano professor. But that English gave me that opportunity. And also, I'm applying many international concours, and if it weren't for English, it have been really hard for me to. So if you're looking for something, or if you want to learn new things, you search it in Korean. Not that many things pop up, but if you search in English, wow, lots and lots of papers and lots of opinions, or because every document, every paper, is translated in English. So opportunity. Well, I got what I know, what I study. I got it all from all from English. Yeah.
So yeah, speaking of technology these days, the AI technology is
Yes,
like a right?
yes.
And some people might say like, do you still need to learn English while the AI technology is gonna translate like So yeah, what's your take?
I totally disagree on that because you can go home and try for yourself. Ask the same thing in Korean and English as well to AI. When you ask them in AI, it gives much better answers. So like people say, yes, like you said, people say with the coming of AI, we don't need to learn any other languages. No, I feel totally the opposite. You need to learn more English because the AI gets much more smarter when you speak English, speak with English. Yes. So yeah. You need more English, I think. Yeah.
And I want to talk more about yourself now. So what do you think is the things in common that learning language and listening to music?
Very much common because like English, if you just keep exposing yourself, it's going to build up in your unconscious mind. Music as well. You just listen to music more, you listen to music more and it just builds up in your unconscious mind and someday it's going to pop up, and English as well. And also like compared to other areas, English, I know language itself is to communicate with people. Music itself is also communicate with people. So if you want to grow up in music, you gotta play in front of others. Also in English, just any other language in general, you're gonna go and speak with others, and that's gonna help you a lot. So like think it as if you study, if you're just at home solving problems in the books, of course it's gonna develop you, but taking a real serious test. A huge amount. So yeah, that's the same. Music, English, you're gonna go out and actually interact with people.
So you watched K-pop Demon Hunters?
Yes, I watched it.
Yeah.
It was my cup of tea, but what I really felt interesting was that they used Korean words, English songs. Back in 80s or 90s, even like 10 years ago, we used to put English in Korean songs. The reason behind it is, I think, because English sounds more fancier than Korean. Like it's better to say, if I say 사랑해, but if I say I love you, it feels more,
cool.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, cool is a good word. If I say, oh, my heart burns with fire, if you say it in Korean, oh, the 심장이, I can't even say it. You get what I mean? But I think, so I could feel real cultural superiority, like how the culture keeps on, like winning over each other. I could feel it because, the fancier and the cool parts used to be English when it comes to songs, but in K-pop Demon Hunters, the Korean got the cool parts. So that was a huge shock for me, a huge shock. And 2 months ago, I was in Poland. There was a blonde, blue-eyed, tall girl. What Asians think typical good-looking Caucasian. She was at the street drinking soju. Just blowing on the bottle with 닭강정. Yeah, Korea, started to have cultural influence. What we would think not cool became cool in Poland. Yeah, so I think K-pop Demon Hunters, it shows that too. The Korean got the cool parts in the lyrics.
So let's change the mood. Have you ever made a funny mistake while talking in English?
When I was a small kid in Australia, I thought the word boobs was chest. Yeah. I used to go around people, using the word boobs referring to my chest. And I didn't know why people would go laughing about it. So I found out later. So I felt very much embarrassed,
Any other story?
Any other stories? There was a very fun thing in Australia. In Australia, you bring your own lunch boxes. But, since I used to bring Korean food, Korean food, smells, sesame oil. And the crows, they're very clever. They open the back. They can open the zipper, helping each other. So
you mean crow, the birds?
Yeah, the birds. And the birds would always pick on my back and pick on my lunchbox, eating all of it inside. Since it smells the most, like sandwiches don't smell, but Korean food, it has strong odor. So I was like, oh, those racist crows, they all pick on my backpack. That was a funny thing that happened in Australia.
I remember you were talking about this friend in Australia that you want to become like, and then you tried, following, mimicking everything that he does. And then,
yes.
right,
Yes. His name was his name was Hugh Keenan. When I could speak no English and when I had no friends, he came up to me and told me all those swear words in English.
Okay.
You know, of course we know like the F word. You know, like sure. You know, yeah. And it was really fun. Really. So I told him back the swear words in Korean. Yeah. So yeah, he's the first one that came up to me, you know, and helped me. You know, with the swearing words. So I tried to mimic him, you know, in the way of speaking, and I think it really helped me a lot. You know, like same way as in music, you know, if you look at the score and you just try to you know play it, you know, you didn't go any further. But when when you choose a specific player that you want to mimic and follow and copy, you know, you start to do that and you develop your own way of playing. So I think it's really essential to pick a specific person that you want to mimic and follow. So in Australia, I used to pick him because I wanted to speak like him, and I think that really helped me a lot. You know, so having a certain direction of what you're learning is really important. Just like I said, you just look at the score, you didn't go nowhere, but you have to listen to other albums and you pick an album that you want to mimic and follow. That helps a lot. Same as in language. So I'd recommend pick a celebrity or pick a character in fictional movies. And I used to pick Eric Cartman in South Park.
Who's that?
Yeah, Eric Cartman in South Park. Yeah, Eric Cartman, the fat one.
Okay.
I tried to mimic him as well.
Oh, yeah.
He used a lot of swear words. And,
So I think it was only me, and it's really funny to hear that you also have this kind of mentor that you want to be like.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mine was Casey Neistat. He's an American film director.
Film director, yeah.
And he's like a hero of this a YouTube industry, and
yes.
he anyway maybe I can put this a subtitle about him, and so I wanted to sound like him, I wanted to be like him.
Yes,
I even wanted to look like him, so I just the method called shadowing, right?
Oh yeah, shadowing.
So I'm doing the shadowing, sound like him, so I just copy every sentence of his and then try to be like him. Then that really helped me.
Oh yes, that's
totally.
essential.
So just every time I have an opportunity to talk in English, and then unconsciously I know that his sentences are coming from me.
Yes.
Sometimes as a whole.
Yes.
Sometimes,
exactly.
right. So to me, language isn't like creating, but it's more like reproducing.
Yeah. You have certain sentences already embedded deep within your mind.
Yes.
It just comes as a whole.
Exactly.
So you don't have to go through the process of translating in your head. There are many Korean who excel in writing or reading, but who are not very good at speaking. I think because they make up the sentence in their head in Korean, and then they have the time to translate. Yeah, but no, that's no go for English. Well, for any other language in general, you just come up with the sentence itself. Yeah.
And just like that, do you think there's some certain mistakes that Korean Englishers are making?
You have to learn the context itself, not the one-on-one translated dictionary. Like in English, what Koreans make the mistakes most is that they use the phrase that time, that time. But in English, you can never point out the certain time. They say the time, and by this you can know how in different language they perceive the time differently. In Korean, you can pick the specific time. You can just pick it up like a dot. But in English, the time, it cannot be chosen at certain time. It always goes on. That's why they have the phrase have been and had been. Have been is till the past and to the present. Had been is in the very past until the past. It cannot be translated in Korean. Yeah. So what I try to emphasize by this is that you have to learn the context itself, and you have to learn how they perceive the world differently. And while I came up with the time, there are some, and I heard that there are certain language when they say future, they point at their back.
Oh, okay.
So for them, past is up in front of them and the future is behind. And I'm not sure, but I heard that in Chinese or something. It was one of the Asian languages. Okay. And their concept of time is up and down. Up and down. So for them,
tomorrow.
future is up and past is down. Okay. Yeah. So just by knowing the kind of how they perceive the world differently or the context, it really helps you a lot. But just you're gonna get how they perceive the world differently. Just like in music, like you look at the score, like German composers and Russian composers. Even though they say the same forte or piano, it all varies between schools of composers. But trying to learn English in just one-on-one translation and trying to learn English translated in Korean is like just looking at the score, not just looking at the score. And you have to know where the composer's from, how he studied, and it just greatly helps. So what I'm trying to emphasize is that the mistakes that Koreans are making is not trying to get the context itself. Like people who start and when they're adults can learn much more than people who started and when they're kids. But there's one thing that they could never overcome. But it's just like in music, pronunciation. I would think it's same in music. People who started very young in the piano, they have like all those crispy techniques, like arpeggios or scales. They excel at it. They're very fundamental, basic techniques used in when it comes to expressing your ideas, making the piece alive. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. But I think in English as well, pronunciation, you're gonna learn it when kid, but you don't have to worry.
Exactly. So while you're staying in Australia or while you're traveling, do other people actually care about your pronunciation?
They never do.
They never do that, right?
Yeah, they never do. They never. There are some people who sound fluent, but the actual natives don't really get it. But there are people who sound really not fluent, but they get it all. There are many. Yeah, I keep saying, just like in music, if you excel at certain techniques, arpeggios, scales, but if you don't have the feeling inside it, and if you don't have what you want to express deeply, the music doesn't come alive. I think it's same in language, your pronunciation or like the structure, it doesn't matter. They're going to see in your eyes or in your body language and the certain specific words you use, they're going to get it in the end.
Once again, so thanks for coming. So we're going to, wrap up the show. So before we go, would you like to give a piece of advice to the people who are watching this video?
Yes. I keep mentioning the same thing. Korean you and English you is different. So if you're learning English, if you're watching a video or try to learn English, of course, if you're at the very basic level, you need Korean to learn things. But if you're over a certain level, 100% recommend never try to integrate Korean when learning English. You have to know the context itself. And also, if you're like watching a video or watching a movie, people sometimes use English subtitles, to learn English. But having a subtitle doesn't help you anyway, because it just helps you to read faster, and that's it. Because when you watch a movie or watch something, your brain keeps on constantly figure out how the things are going, what they're saying, and it helps greatly. So I'd recommend if you're learning English by watching videos, never use subtitles. And also what helps is just bring up a random photo or random cover and just try to explain in English. To run up to any foreigner, just try to explain things like in your own way. Like just come up with a new photo, maybe like trying to explain meme, there are many memes, stupid meme pictures. Try to explain how they look like. Try to explain how crocodile looks like. Like an alligator, it looks like a bomber. That really helps a lot. Really helps a lot. So the final advice is, English you and Korean you is just think it as totally different person. And when you're learning English, just English.
And thanks for being such a great stories today.
Thank you.
Thank you. 네, 저희 오늘 이렇게 은영님 모시고 한번 언어와 음악에 대한 이야기 한번 이렇게 나눠봤는데 좀 어떠셨나요?
네, 오늘 저 정말 재밌었고, 그리고 아마 영상을 보시면서 느끼시겠지만 제가 계속 말하듯 한국어는 한국어 할 때만 생각해야 돼요. 영어 할 때는 영어만 생각해야 됩니다. 그리고 또 언어가 정말 그 어떤 언어도 원어원 트랜슬레이션이 되지 않고 똑같은 단어라도 그 실제 사용하는 사람들이 받아들이는 바는 정말 다르거든요. 그래서 그런 걸 익히도록 해야 됩니다. 그런 것을. 그리고 항상 따라할 누군가를 고르는 것도 정말 중요합니다. 제가 말했듯 음악도 결국에는 제가 좋아하는 음악가를 따라하려고 하다가 결국 제 스스로 걸 얻게 되듯이 영어도 똑같거든요. 다 똑같습니다. 그리고 또 다들 너무 책으로만 공부하려고 하는데 그것도 음악을 집에서 혼자 맨날 연주하고 있는 것과 똑같습니다. 실제 누구와 이렇게 어떻게든 말하려고 하면은 굉장히 큰 도움이 됩니다. 그리고 또 뭐 지금 열심히 하고 있는데 안 늘고 있다고 해서 그렇게 좌절할 필요가 없는 게 분명히 무의식 속에 그것은 쌓이고 있습니다. 예. 아마 영어뿐만 아니라 주변에 제가 맨 처음 비디오에서 봤던 예. 어떤 분야든 항상 계단형으로 오르더라고요. 그러니까 예, 이것도 끊임없이 스스로를 좀 노출시키고 영어에 또 무조건 누군가 그냥 딱 붙잡고 얘기하려고 하고 그게 정말 중요한 것 같습니다. 예.
감사합니다.
네, 감사합니다.
네, 저는 그럼 또 다음에서 새로운 게스트와 함께 또 찾아오도록 하겠습니다. 오늘 감사합니다.